Coach Mangini doesn't hold back when naming the Browns' true opponent, and it's not on the field. It's fear. From the owner's office to the front lines of draft decisions, Mangini outlines a franchise paralyzed by the possibility of being wrong. Shedeur Sanders, by every measure, is ready, mature, composed, accurate, and hungry. Yet instead of handing him the reins, the Browns stall, sidestep, and hide behind buzzwords like development. Mangini's frustration is sharp.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
He sees the hesitation not as strategy, but as institutional insecurity. It's not about whether Sanders can lead. It's about whether the Browns can. Sanders' ability to command the locker room and execute on the field isn't in question. What is in question is the Browns' willingness to get out of their own way. Every delay, every PR statement, every deflection is another sign that control and ego are dictating the future more than talent or logic. Mangini's critique cuts deep because it reflects what so many see: an organization too afraid to do the obvious. If this fear continues to govern decisions, the Browns won't just lose games. They'll lose the kind of leader franchises rarely find twice. Coach Eric Mangini didn't go off script. He didn't misstep. He said what needed to be said, what no one in the Browns organization seems willing to say aloud. The Cleveland Browns are disrespecting Shedeur Sanders, and they're doing it in a way that's not just frustrating or confusing, it's laughable. He didn't sugarcoat it. He didn't ease into it. He went straight for the jugular and called out exactly what the rest of the league, the fans, and even the locker room have been witnessing in real time. The Cleveland Browns are mishandling a once-in-a-generation quarterback prospect with a mix of fear, dysfunction, and ego that's all too familiar. And the worst part? It's not even surprising anymore. This team has spent years building a reputation for chaos. Now, they've finally got a chance to change that with a polished, pro-ready leader in Shedeur Sanders, and they're still managing to fumble it. Not because the talent isn't there. Not because he's not ready. But because the people running the show are too afraid to make the obvious decision. According to Mangini, the Browns front office operates more like a dysfunctional group project than a professional football team. And honestly, he's right. There's no clear direction. No unified voice. Just a collection of power players scrambling to protect their own influence while pretending it's all part of some grand, strategic development plan. It's not development. It's damage control. Sanders has shown leadership, accuracy, and a level of calm under pressure that you want in your franchise quarterback. He's done his part. But rather than handing him the keys and letting him lead, the Browns are out here treating him like a backup option, someone who needs to wait his turn. Wait for what? For the front office to finish its internal power struggle? For the GM and ownership to finally agree on a direction? For the PR team to write the perfect statement? This isn't a football decision. It's an ego decision. And that's exactly what Mangini was exposing. There's no actual football argument against starting Sanders. Every sign, every practice, every leadership moment points to him being ready. So what's the holdup? According to Mangini, and based on everything coming out of Cleveland, it's fear. Fear of being wrong. Fear of giving up control. Fear of admitting past mistakes. And when fear runs a franchise, chaos follows. That's what we're seeing now. What makes this worse is the Browns' continued attempt to spin it. The press conferences full of "we're evaluating all our options." The empty statements about competition. The corporate buzzwords about team culture. All of it is just a smokescreen. Because the reality is simple, the Browns are obsessed with control. They want to control the narrative, control the development process, control the perception. But they've lost sight of the one thing that actually matters: winning. And winning, right now, means playing Shedeur Sanders. Mangini's critique highlighted how this organization is letting its need for control override its responsibility to recognize talent. The internal dysfunction, the misalignment between ownership and the GM, the behind-the-scenes manipulation of decisions, is making itself known in every way except on the scoreboard. The longer they keep Sanders sidelined, the more transparent that dysfunction becomes. It's not subtle. Fans know. The media knows. The locker room definitely knows. And that's where the damage starts to compound. When players see that the most talented, most poised, most prepared guy on the roster is being held back, not because he's not ready, but because management can't get out of its own way, it undermines trust. It chips away at belief. And that's how you lose locker rooms. Not with losses, but with indecision. The Browns' indecision is not harmless. It's corrosive. It's eating away at the trust that players, coaches, and fans are supposed to have in their leadership. And what makes it even more frustrating is that it's all so unnecessary. This is not a complicated call. You don't sit on a quarterback like Sanders unless something else is going on, something that has nothing to do with football. Mangini hinted at it. The split between the GM and ownership. The possibility of internal politics and draft day manipulation. The whispers that Sanders was never their guy, and that playing him would threaten too many internal agendas. And if that's true, then this isn't just a football mistake. It's malpractice. Because they're not just benching a player. They're risking their entire future to preserve someone's pride. To avoid stepping on the wrong toes. To keep the illusion of a plan alive, even when the results are right in front of them. Sanders is the plan. There's no need to manufacture a narrative. No need to dress up indecision as wisdom. He's ready. The team knows it. The fans know it. And the longer the Browns pretend otherwise, the more credibility they lose. Mangini warned that the Browns are at risk of squandering a rare opportunity. And he's right. Talent like this doesn't come along often. You don't just wait and see when you have someone who can lead right now. You don't slow play greatness. You build around it. You bet on it. You stop overthinking and start winning. But Cleveland can't seem to let go of the idea that they have more time. That they can play it safe. That they can keep things quiet while they figure it out. But time isn't on their side. Not with fans already asking hard questions. Not with the media turning up the heat. And not with a locker room that needs clarity. Sanders is the future. But the longer they treat him like a backup plan, the more they risk turning that future into another chapter in their long history of missed chances. This should have been the moment. The fresh start. The clean break from the old Cleveland narrative. But instead, it's more of the same, except this time, it's louder. This time, people are paying attention. And this time, the consequences will stick. Coach Mangini wasn't overreacting. He was stating the obvious. And the fact that it had to come from him, because no one inside the building was willing to take that stand, says everything. This isn't just about one quarterback. It's about a franchise that still hasn't figured out how to prioritize football over ego. That still lets fear drive the car. That still thinks control is more valuable than clarity. If they don't fix it soon, Sanders won't be the only thing they lose. They'll lose trust. They'll lose players. They'll lose fans. And they'll deserve it. If you've been watching this disaster unfold and wondering how a franchise can fumble such a clear decision, now you know, it's not about readiness. It's about fear. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because we know you've got something to say. Hit like if you're tired of watching this team self-destruct from the top down. Share this with someone who still thinks patience is a game plan. And subscribe, because if this is how the Browns treat their best hope for a real future, you better believe this story's just getting started. The Cleveland Browns are standing at the edge of the cliff, staring down at everything they've built, years of trying to shake off the reputation, the heartbreak, the endless carousel of quarterbacks, front office resets, and public disasters. And yet somehow, after finally landing a player like Shedeur Sanders, finally drafting someone with the tools, the leadership, and the temperament to change the narrative, they're about to blow it. And not quietly either. Coach Eric Mangini's criticism wasn't just a shot across the bow. It was a full-on demolition of the Browns' front office. He exposed what so many have tiptoed around. This franchise is choosing control over competence, spin over substance, and pride over progress. And what makes it so infuriating is that it's all so familiar. We've seen this before. Cleveland gets close. Hope builds. The media starts to believe. The locker room buzzes. The fans rally. And then, the organization implodes under the weight of its own dysfunction. Every single time. Only now, they're not just risking another losing season, they're risking losing the guy. Shedeur Sanders isn't just another draft pick. He's the pick. The kind of player you don't wait on. The kind of quarterback that doesn't need to be molded into a leader, he already is one. And if the Browns can't see that, then the problem isn't him. It's them. Coach Mangini, a guy who spent time inside NFL buildings, made one thing clear. The people in charge aren't confused. They're insecure. They're not cautious. They're afraid. They're not developing Sanders. They're delaying him because doing anything else would mean confronting some very uncomfortable truths about who's actually calling the shots and why. And now it's bleeding into everything. This situation isn't just about a quarterback battle. It's about whether a franchise can admit its own flaws, pivot, and build around a player who's earned the right to lead. Spoiler, so far, the answer is no. The ownership is locked in its usual PR mindset. The GM is trying to protect draft capital that didn't pan out. And the coaching staff? They're caught in the crossfire, forced to play diplomat while the front office plays politics. It's the same dysfunction that's held this team back for decades. Only now, the stakes are higher. Because now, there's something real to lose. And you can already feel the air shifting. The locker room knows. You can't hide this kind of internal chaos from players. They see who shows up early, who commands the room, who puts in the work. And when the guy doing all of that still isn't getting the job, players stop believing. In the process. In the leadership. In the direction of the team. And once that belief cracks, you're done. This isn't just about making the wrong call, it's about making no call at all. This is a leadership vacuum in its purest form. A franchise that's frozen. Paralyzed by the fear of upsetting the wrong person, pulling the wrong string, or admitting they backed the wrong horse. So instead of ripping the bandage off and building around Shedeur, they're doing what they always do, overthinking, overtalking, overmanaging. And it's not just the locker room losing faith. The fans see it too. This fan base has been put through it. And yet, every year, they show up, because deep down, they believe that maybe this is the season it changes. That maybe this time, the front office will get it right. But how many times do you expect them to keep believing when the organization keeps making it so hard to trust? Right now, those fans are watching Shedeur Sanders, a game-ready, sharp, composed, modern quarterback, gets sidelined for reasons that make no football sense. They're watching the Browns use development as a shield for fear. They're watching a team act like they've got all the time in the world, when they absolutely do not. And the longer this goes on, the more irreversible the damage becomes. Because Shedeur may be quiet, may be professional, may be patient, but he's not blind. He sees what's going on. And if the Browns keep mishandling this, they're going to lose him, not necessarily to a trade or free agency, but in spirit, in trust, in faith that this is the team that can build around him instead of building walls in front of him. And when that trust breaks, you don't just lose a quarterback. You lose your future. Coach Mangini saw the writing on the wall and called it out before it became irreversible. He wasn't just making noise. He was holding up a mirror to the people in charge and saying, "This is what you look like right now. And it's not good. Disjointed. Chaotic. Not of the opponent. Not of the schedule. But of the obvious decision that they still refuse to make. Start Shedeur Sanders. Not after more meaningless reps. Not after another month of PR spinning. Because every week you don't, you're not just falling behind, you're actively hurting your team. Every delay is wasted chemistry. Every excuse is a missed opportunity. Every "we're evaluating things" press conference is a signpost that says, "We still don't get it." You cannot build a dynasty when your leadership is this allergic to clarity. This isn't about throwing a rookie to the wolves. This is about letting a leader lead. Letting the guy who's already shown you who he is, tough, prepared, unshakable, do his job. And if the Browns can't recognize that, if they really can't tell the difference between patience and paralysis, between development and deception, between caution and cowardice, then they haven't learned a thing. And it'll cost them. In games. In players. In faith. Because eventually you run out of excuses. And this franchise is about one delay away from crossing that line. Shedeur Sanders is the future. but the Browns seem determined to live in the past. And if they keep clinging to it, if they let ego and fear drive one more quarterback decision, they'll lose the future altogether. There's a saying in sports, when you've got the guy, you stop searching. You stop the speculation. You stop the rotation. You stop the excuses. You build around him. The Cleveland Browns have the guy. His name is Shedeur Sanders. And they're acting like he's just another name on the depth chart. Let that sink in. Because this isn't about needing more time to develop. This isn't about protecting a young player. This is about protecting people in the building who can't let go of the illusion of control. And every week that Shedeur doesn't start, that illusion gets harder to maintain. Coach Mangini saw through it. He called it out not as a maybe one day issue, but as the issue. He didn't see a quarterback controversy, he saw a leadership collapse. What's happening in Cleveland isn't strategic. It's self-sabotage. And it's happening in broad daylight. They're overthinking themselves into irrelevance. You know what successful organizations do when they land a quarterback with elite processing, on-field calm, and natural leadership? They clear the runway. They don't argue in meetings about who made what pick or who gets the credit. They don't micromanage growth from the owner's suite. They get out of the way. Cleveland? They're building roadblocks. Internal ones. Let's not pretend this is about competition. There is no real quarterback competition here. The guy who should be taking the first team reps, leading the huddle, getting the in-game experience, he's standing on the sidelines, helmet in hand, waiting for a decision that already made itself weeks ago. Shedeur's talent isn't speculative. He's already proven he can handle pressure, read defenses, lead teammates, and execute in high-stakes moments. He's not raw. He's not a project. He's ready. But that's not what the front office wants to deal with, because acknowledging that readiness means pulling back the curtain on all the poor choices that came before. The failed quarterback experiments. The wasted seasons. The awkward contracts. The egos still tied to decisions they don't want to reverse. So what do? They hesitate. They delay. They pass the mic to the PR team and pretend this is all part of a long-term plan. But it's not. It's a stall. And everyone knows it. The media's onto it. The locker room's feeling it. The fans? Exhausted. They've seen this movie before, and the ending is always the same. Talent gets buried, politics win the day, and Cleveland slips further behind. But this time, the stakes are higher. Because this time, the guy they're mismanaging could actually save the franchise if they just let him. The longer they wait, the more damage they're doing, not just to Sanders, but to everyone watching from inside that building. Players who are giving everything every day are watching their most capable leader held back for reasons that have nothing to do with football. And that's how you lose a team. Not through losses on Sunday, but through betrayal on Monday. When leadership doesn't reward performance. When decisions don't make sense. When it becomes clear that what's right for the team isn't what's guiding the ship. That's what Coach Mangini exposed. He didn't just call out the delay. He called out the why behind it. And the why is exactly what should terrify every Browns fan with even an ounce of hope left. Because it means that this franchise, even in its most promising moment, still can't get out of its own way. What they're doing to Shedeur Sanders isn't just a misread, it's disrespect. He's done everything they've asked. He's checked every box. And instead of being rewarded with the opportunity he's earned, he's being sidelined by people who are more interested in protecting their image than unleashing his talent. And if they're not careful, they're going to break him before he ever gets a real shot. Because no matter how composed he is, no matter how professional he acts, no competitor wants to sit and watch a team lose while knowing they could have helped win. No leader wants to feel like their ability to lead is being filtered through a marketing strategy. They're risking not just his confidence, but his faith in them. And once that's gone, it doesn't come back. Do the Browns really want to be the franchise that took a generational talent and turned him into another, what could have been, story? Do they want to explain to fans years from now why they waited too long? Why they didn't act when it was obvious? Why they let fear guide them right back into the same trap they've been stuck in for decades? Because that's where this is headed. You can feel the tension building. The press conferences are getting thinner. The excuses are wearing out. The belief is slipping. At some point, Someone in that organization is going to have to step up. Not to defend the delay, but to end it. To stop overthinking and start leading. To look at what's actually in front of them and say, we're not going to waste this. Start Shedeur Sanders. Not next week. Not after a bye. Because every week that goes by isn't just a missed opportunity, it's a slow deterioration of everything this team could be. This is not a team that's a few years away. This is a team that's a decision away. And they're blowing it. All the data. All the practices. All the film. All the leadership moments. The answer is right in front of them. And still, they're stuck in the loop. How many more times do we have to see this pattern before someone learns? Because it's not just frustrating anymore. It's insulting to Sanders, to the team, and to the fans who've stayed loyal through all of it. And it's not sustainable. If the Browns think they can keep spinning this with press releases and cryptic coach quotes, they're wrong. The fans are talking. The media's watching. The pressure's rising. And every delay makes them look smaller, weaker, and more lost. This team has a chance to step into a new identity. A winning identity. One built not on excuses or spin or control, but on talent, leadership, and guts. Shedeur Sanders is all of that. But if the Browns can't see it, can't act on it, or worse, won't, then it's not just Sanders' future at risk. It's theirs. So what do you think? Are the Browns just scared of being wrong? Is this another slow-motion disaster playing out in real time? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We're reading them. Hit like if you're ready to see Sanders on the field where he belongs. Share this with someone still defending the development timeline. And subscribe, because if the Browns keep dragging their feet, we'll be right here calling it out every step of the way.